This video overviews a scramble up Diggle Brook and Hoar Clough that includes 5 Grade 1 waterfalls and a Grade 2.5. The scramble is only to be attempted when the nearby rifle range is not in use. Diggle Brook is climbed going east from the town of Diggle, which is at the northeast corner of Greater Manchester, up to Black Moss Reservoirs. Fuller details of parking, routes and grading are given in the text description underneath the video.
Many of the locations I'm going to today don't actually have a separate name on the map, but I'm going to call this one Diggle Clough. This one is pretty straightforward, about 10 to 12 feet, but some small concrete steps, and if you don't want to get a face full of water, just come up here on what is the left hand side as you face it. Further up Diggle Clough, this is all that there is, and you can just basically walk alongside this rather than the faff of getting into the brook. Here's a rather battered footbridge over Diggle Brook, and I think here's the moment to get down into the brook rather than following the footpath, though clearly that's going to be a little bit difficult. There's been nothing to speak of here in Diggle Clough until we get to this 20-25 foot waterfall with a decent underhang on it if you're willing to go up the middle and get very wet. Turns out not enough underhang and too much overhang. This is one to return to with a rope and or a buddy. Here's the third waterfall on Diggle Clough. It's about 12 to 15 feet tall. It's a maybe, but one thing you've got to take a very great deal of care around here is the rifle ranges, which can be an action with live fire, and you don't want to get in the way of that. This waterfall was a challenge, but doable coming up here on the left hand side. However, as you come up, you can see you're just below the rifle range, so you really have got to take a great deal of care. It's not the water that's going to do you in here, it's the guns. I'm still going to call this Diggle Clough, but this is the continuation above Diggle Reservoir. This is the outflow from Black Moss Reservoir. So this is now part way up the upper part of Diggle Brook. A series of gentle cascades, gentle pop of gunfire in the background you can possibly hear, and walking alongside the brook, it's all hummocks and tussocks and real ankle breaker territory, so it's pretty slow getting up. The brook splits here, off to the right up to Hoar Clough, waterfall marked up there. To the left, the outflow more up to Black Moss Reservoir, waterfall marked there as well. And just around the corner, here it is, a series of 3 cascades and then a roughly 30-foot waterfall. Perfect Grade 1 plus waterfall. The handholds and footholds are a little bit slippery, but the angle of the rock is nice and you can rub off the algae in order to get a little bit more traction. There's a platform 2/3 of the way up where you can rest, and the final bit is just a little bit more difficult, but all perfectly achievable. Really good one. There have been a few cascades and then a final maybe 10-12 foot waterfall. I think probably the last one before the brook links up with Little Black Moss Reservoir. Main waterfall there was too slippery to go up the centre, but you can go up the sort of rockfall bit up here. They do watch out because the rocks still are falling. Then actually this little cascade here, easy enough when you get to it, but I sank about thigh deep into mud in the pool in front of it. I've now backtracked to the junction and going to take the alternative fork which goes up Hoar Clough. This is Hoar Clough so far. Short, steep and a continuous series of cascades well worth climbing up. Now Hoar Clough is heavily overgrown, slippery. There's a reasonable amount of water in it because it's rained so much recently, but at other times of year there might be quite a bit less, and I'm only keeping going through the promise of those 2 waterfalls on the OS map. Given that the gradient had levelled off, it was difficult to see where the waterfalls were going to come from, and the first one up the map, which is marked at the junction of an outflow from Black Moss Reservoir, there was nothing that was visible. As you can see, not surprising given that everything is so overgrown. And here is the second waterfall that's marked, all magnificent, greasy, 8-9 foot of it. Diggle Clough, both below and above Diggle Reservoir, I'm going to give a thumbs up to. There are 5 waterfalls in it altogether. 4 of those are a bit of a challenge, but all scrambleable at grade 1, one of which, would need a bit more assistance in order to get up it. It is a bit of a pain walking alongside it. There is no path, and the big thing you've got to watch out for is the rifle range, so make sure you go at a time when the rifle club is not shooting. Hoar Clough, it was fun to start off with, but it's too overgrown, there's not enough water in it, and the waterfalls are just a bit of a joke, so that definitely wasn't worth doing. So stick to Diggle Clough. I guess probably it's about maybe a 2.5 hour ascent from Diggle up to this end point.